The alien palace stood like a mountain of silver and glass, shining under the twin suns of their world. Inside the great hall, tall alien beauties sat on jeweled thrones, their faces calm, their eyes proud. They called themselves rulers of the stars, masters of science and art. To them, no other race could compare, and especially not humans. For years, the alien queen spoke of humans as if they were nothing more than children playing with fire. They believed humans were weak, short-lived, and foolish. A race of animals, one queen once said. They fight each other, they destroy their own world, and yet they think they belong among the stars. The others laughed. Their laughter was like music, cold and sharp, echoing against the high walls. They thought humans were amusing, a small curiosity in a galaxy filled with greatness. To the alien rulers, humans were beneath notice. But that day was different. In the Great Hall, the laughter stopped when a message was read aloud. A human had done something no alien expected. A single man had challenged the Empire, not with weapons or fleets, but with his actions, his courage, and his will. The queens did not believe it at first. Impossible, one said, her voice sharp. A human cannot rise so high. He cannot change the order of the stars. Another waved her jeweled hand and laughed again. A trick. It must be a trick. Humans are too weak for such things. Yet deep inside, a shadow of doubt touched their hearts. The report was clear. This man was not like other humans. He had stood against warriors. He had survived trials no human should survive, and he had spoken words that spread like fire through the galaxy. The younger aliens whispered among themselves. Could it be true? Could a human be more than we thought? But the elder queens silenced them with a glare. Do not be foolish. He will break, like all humans break. Still, the human's name spread across the stars. Even in alien marketplaces and in crowded cities, people whispered, "A man from Earth has defied the rulers. A human has walked where no human should walk." The alien queens could not ignore it any longer. They ordered the human to be brought before them. They wanted to see him with their own eyes. They wanted to laugh in his face, to prove to the galaxy that humans were nothing more than fragile insects. The great hall was prepared. Guards in silver armor stood in lines. Musicians played slow, echoing notes. The air smelled of strange flowers from alien gardens. The queens sat high above, waiting, their eyes shining with arrogance. Then the doors opened. The human walked in, his step steady, his face calm. He did not bow. He did not look afraid. His clothes were simple, worn from travel, but his eyes carried something different. Something that made even the proudest queen fall silent for a moment. They had expected fear. They had expected weakness. But instead they saw confidence. They saw a man who had come not as a servant, not as a victim, but as an equal. The first queen laughed to hide her unease. So this is the one they speak of? This is the human who dares to stand before us? The second queen leaned forward, her voice cold. Tell us, man of Earth, do you know where you stand? You are in the heart of the Empire. You are nothing here. You are dust beneath our feet. The man did not answer at once. He looked at the hall, at the guards, at the queens on their thrones. Then he smiled, a small smile, quiet but unshaken. I know where I stand, he said at last. His voice was calm, steady, and clear. I stand as a human, and that is enough. The hall grew silent. The queen stared, waiting for fear, waiting for him to fall to his knees, but he did not. And in that silence, a strange feeling moved through the air. For the first time, the alien beauties did not laugh. For the first time, they wondered if their judgment had been wrong. Who was this man? Why did he not tremble before them? The eldest queen narrowed her eyes. You will prove yourself, she declared. If you fail, you will die. If you succeed, perhaps we will speak of humans again. The others laughed, but their laughter was weaker now, filled with hidden doubt. The human stood tall, waiting. And so it began. The story of how one man would change the way an empire saw humanity. The alien city was unlike anything humans had ever built. Towers of crystal reached the sky, glowing with soft blue light. Bridges hung in the air as if made of mist. Ships drifted silently above the streets like silver birds. It was a place built to impress, to remind visitors of the empire's power and beauty. Into this shining city came the human. His small craft had been escorted by alien warships, each one larger than any vessel Earth had ever launched. The people of the Empire gathered in crowds along the streets, curious to see the strange creature who dared to stand before their queens. Children pointed and laughed. Merchants whispered and shook their heads. Soldiers looked at him with cold, sharp eyes, certain he would soon fall and never rise again. To them, humans were weak animals who barely understood the stars. But the man did not bend under their stares. He walked calmly, his steps steady, his gaze straight ahead. His clothes were plain, marked with dust and wear. Yet he carried himself as if he belonged there, among towers and thrones. When he reached the gates of the palace, the guards moved forward. They were tall, their armor shining like polished stone, their weapons humming with energy. One raised a spear and blocked his way. "You enter the House of Queens," the guard said in a voice that shook the air. "Bow, human, or you will not pass." The man looked at the spear, then at the guard's face. He did not move. He did not bow. Instead, he said in a calm voice, "I bow only to truth, not to arrogance." Gasps rose from the crowd. The guard's eyes narrowed, his grip on the spear tightening. But before he could act, a voice echoed from within the palace. "Let him enter." It was the eldest queen, her tone sharp but filled with curiosity. The guards obeyed, though their faces showed anger. The doors opened and the man walked inside. The palace hall was vast, larger than any human stadium, its walls carved with stars and moons, its floor shining like a mirror. The queens sat on high thrones of silver and fire, their gowns flowing like rivers of light. They were beautiful, but their beauty was sharp, like blades hidden in silk. The queens studied him as he approached. They expected fear. They expected trembling, but his calm steps never faltered. Finally, the first queen spoke. Her voice was smooth but cold. "Human, you stand in the heart of our empire. Do you understand where you are?" The man looked around, his eyes passing over the jewels, the banners, the guards with their weapons. Then he looked back at her and said, "I understand. I stand in a hall that believes it rules the stars. But a hall is still only stone. It does not decide the strength of men." The second queen laughed, a clear and mocking sound. "Stone does not, perhaps, but we do. You are a child playing among gods. Your kind burns forests, kills each other, and dares to think you are important." The man's voice did not rise, but it carried through the hall. "And yet with all your power, with all your beauty, you bring me here. You speak of humans, though you call us nothing. If we were truly nothing, why waste your time?" The hall grew silent. The crowd of nobles shifted uncomfortably. Some whispered. The queen's eyes narrowed, but they could not deny his words. The eldest queen raised her hand. "Enough. You speak boldly, but words are air. You will face trials. If you fail, you will be forgotten. If you succeed..." Her voice paused, heavy with meaning. "Then perhaps the galaxy will remember the name of one human." The man nodded once. "I accept." The queens were not used to such calm answers. They expected begging, fear, hesitation. But this human gave none. The crowd was ordered out and word spread quickly through the city. In markets and homes, in starports and schools, whispers grew. A human will face the trials. A human dares to challenge the empire. Some laughed, certain he would die before the first day was done. Others were curious, a rare feeling in a people who believed they had seen everything. And among the youngest there was a spark of something dangerous, hope. As the human was led away to prepare for the first trial, the queens watched him with cold eyes. But deep inside, where pride could not easily hide, there was a question none of them wanted to admit aloud. What if he does not break? The man walked through the long corridors of the palace, his steps echoing on stone floors older than earth itself. Guards followed close behind, but he did not look at them. His mind was calm, his heart steady. He knew the trials would be harsh. He knew the queens wanted him to fail, but he also knew something they did not. He carried the spirit of humanity with him, and that was enough. Outside, the sun sank lower, casting long shadows across the city. The people prepared for a spectacle, not knowing they were about to witness history. For this was not just the arrival of one man. It was the arrival of humanity in the heart of an empire that had always thought humans inferior. The morning of the trial arrived with a heavy silence. The twin suns rose above the alien city, casting golden light on towers of crystal. Crowds filled the streets outside the palace, eager to see the human who had dared to stand tall before their queens. Most expected failure. Some expected death. Few believed he would last even a single test. Inside the palace, the human stood in a large chamber. Guards watched him closely, their silver armor gleaming. The air was cool, but their eyes were sharp, waiting for the moment when fear would finally break him. Yet he stood calm, steady, his face unreadable. At last, the great doors opened. The eldest queen entered, followed by her sisters, their gowns flowing like rivers of light. The hall fell silent as she raised her hand. "Human," she said, her voice echoing. "You will now face the challenge of the Empire. If you fail, your death will prove that humans are weak, unworthy of the stars. If you succeed—" She paused, her lips curling in a smile that was not kind. "Then we will speak again of what humans truly are." The man bowed his head slightly, not in fear, but in respect to the moment. "I accept your challenge." The queens led him into the trial arena. It was vast, larger than any human stadium, its walls glowing with strange lights, its floor marked with symbols older than Earth itself. The crowd roared from the high balconies, their voices rising like a storm. The first challenge was a test of strength. A massive creature was brought into the arena, its body covered in thick armor-like skin, its eyes glowing with rage. Chains rattled as it fought against its handlers, roaring loud enough to shake the ground. The crowd laughed. "The human will be crushed. He will not last a moment." The chains were released. The beast charged forward, faster than anyone expected. The man did not run. He waited calm, his eyes sharp. At the last second, he moved aside, quick and precise. The creature stumbled, its momentum carrying it into the wall. The crowd gasped. Again and again the beast charged. And again the man dodged, rolling, leaping, never letting the creature's strength touch him. He had no weapon but his mind, no armor but his will. Slowly he studied the beast's movements, its patterns, its weakness. Then with one final move he leaped onto its back. His hands found the soft space behind its armored neck. With all his strength he pressed down. The creature roared, bucked, and struggled, but slowly it fell to the ground, defeated. The arena shook with silence. The crowd stared, stunned. A human had done what even trained alien soldiers feared to do. The eldest queen leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "Impressive," she whispered. But the trial was not over. The second challenge was a test of mind. The man was led into a chamber filled with shifting walls, glowing symbols, and strange illusions. The aliens called it the Maze of Echoes. No human had ever walked its paths. Even many aliens had been lost within. The doors closed behind him and darkness fell. Then the walls began to move, the symbols flashing, voices whispering from nowhere. The maze was designed to break the mind, to trap the weak in endless confusion. But the man did not panic. He closed his eyes, listening not to the whispers but to his own steady breath. Step by step he moved forward, trusting instinct, trusting memory. Where others saw chaos, he found patterns. Where others heard madness, he heard meaning. Hours passed. The queens watched through hidden screens, certain he would fall. But at last the doors opened again and the man stepped out, calm and unshaken. The crowd erupted in noise. Some still laughed, calling it luck. Others whispered in awe. The doubt grew stronger. Could it be that humans were more than they had believed? The queens exchanged glances. Their pride would not let them admit it, but they felt something unfamiliar, a flicker of unease. The eldest queen raised her hand. "There is one trial left, the trial of heart." The man's eyes met hers. "Then I will face it." The final challenge was not of strength or mind, but of sacrifice. The man was led to a chamber where another human, a prisoner taken long ago, was held in chains. The queens announced their cruel rule: save yourself and the other dies. Save the other and you will suffer instead. This is the truth of humanity. You are selfish, weak, divided. Prove us wrong. The man looked at the prisoner, broken and afraid. He looked back at the queens, their faces filled with mocking smiles. Then he spoke, his voice steady. "A human is never alone. We fight for each other. We stand for each other. That is our strength." Without hesitation, he stepped forward, placing himself in the path of pain, taking the suffering that was meant for the prisoner. The crowd gasped. The queens froze, and for the first time they saw not weakness but something they had never understood before. Selfless courage. The prisoner was freed. The man stood tall, though his body shook with pain. His eyes met the queen's, and in that moment no one dared to laugh. The trials were complete. And the galaxy would never see humans the same way again. The trials were over, but the echoes of that day did not fade. The human had faced the beast, the maze, and the test of sacrifice. Against every expectation he had endured. Against the will of the queens he had triumphed. The alien city was restless. Whispers filled the streets like wind between tall towers. In markets, soldiers, and schools, everyone spoke of the human. He defeated the beast. He escaped the maze. He took the pain for another. The people of the empire had never seen such things from one they called inferior. The queens tried to laugh it away. In their grand palace, they told themselves it was chance luck, nothing more. He survived, yes, said one queen with a cold smile. But even dust sometimes escapes the broom. The others laughed. But their laughter did not ring as bright as before. Late at night, when the stars shone through the high glass windows, one queen sat alone thinking. She was the youngest. Known for her sharp words and mocking smile, she had laughed the loudest when the human first entered the hall. Yet now the memory of his calm eyes troubled her. He had not trembled. He had not begged. Even when in pain he had stood tall. Why did he do it? She whispered to herself. Why would anyone choose to suffer for another? To her it made no sense. In her world, power ruled. The weak were ignored. Sacrifice was a story for children, not a path for rulers. Yet the human had done it without hesitation. The doubt began like a small spark. She tried to crush it, but it grew. The eldest queen noticed the change. "You are quiet," she said one evening as they sat upon their jeweled thrones. The younger queen forced a smile. "Only tired of hearing humans praised in every corner of the city." The eldest queen's eyes narrowed. "Do not let the whispers fool you. He is still nothing. A single insect cannot change the empire." But even as she spoke, she felt the unease inside her own heart. She had ruled for centuries, seen many races rise and fall, but never had she seen one human turn an entire city into silence and wonder. The human himself remained calm. He stayed in the palace, watched by guards, but he walked with quiet dignity. Servants noticed how he treated them with respect, how he listened when they spoke, how he thanked them for simple acts. They had never seen such humility from a guest in the empire. Soon, stories spread beyond the palace walls. The human speaks kindly to those beneath him. He does not see servants as slaves. He values even the lowest among us. To the common people, this was shocking, almost unthinkable. The queens gathered in council to decide what to do. "If we allow this to continue, his name will grow," one warned. Already the young looked to him with strange admiration. Another laughed bitterly. "Let them admire. What is admiration against power? Our fleets fill the skies, our armies cover the stars. One man cannot change that." But the eldest queen remained uneasy. Power is not always fleets and armies. Sometimes it is the seed of an idea, and ideas spread faster than fire. Her words cast a shadow over the council. They did not admit it aloud, but each one had begun to feel the same thing. Doubt. The next day, the queen summoned the human again. The great hall filled with nobles, eager to see him broken at last. "You have passed the trials," the eldest queen said, her voice strong, though her heart was restless. "But do not mistake this for victory. You are still human, weak, fragile, a single man." The man looked up at her throne. His voice was steady, carrying through the hall. "Yes, I am a man, but a man can stand for more than himself. A man can stand for all humanity, and humanity is not as weak as you believe." The hall fell silent. Even the nobles shifted uneasily. The younger queen stared at him, her thoughts tangled. She had laughed at humans all her life. Now she wondered if the laughter had been a lie told to herself. When the human was led away, the younger queen spoke softly to her sisters. "What if he is right?" Her words hung in the air like a knife. The eldest queen's eyes flashed. "Do not speak such foolishness. Humans are nothing," but her voice trembled ever so slightly. She too remembered his eyes, steady as stone, unbroken by fear. And outside the palace, in the wide streets of the alien city, the people whispered louder than ever. For the first time in their long, proud history, the rulers of the stars felt something new. Doubt. The empire had laughed at humans for centuries. They called Earth's people fragile, foolish, and unworthy of the stars. But after the trials, laughter had grown weaker, replaced by whispers of doubt. Now the queens decided to crush those whispers once and for all. The eldest queen summoned the council. Her voice was cold as ice. "The people whisper too much. They see strength in the human where none should exist. We will silence them. He will face a trial that no one can survive. Not even our own soldiers." The younger queen frowned. "Why not let him go? He has already proven something." "Proven?" the eldest queen snapped. He has proven nothing. He is a man, nothing more. If we do not break him, the galaxy will believe humans are our equals. The other queens agreed. The order was given. That night, the city glowed with torches and lights. Crowds filled the great arena, their voices rising in a storm of excitement. Everyone had come to see the final trial, the impossible trial. The human was led into the center of the arena. He looked up at the thousands of alien faces staring down at him, eyes full of curiosity, doubt, and hunger for spectacle. He felt no fear. His heart beat steady, his steps calm. The eldest queen's voice echoed across the arena. This is your last chance, human. Prove yourself, or fall as every other challenger has fallen. The gates opened. From the shadows stepped a creature that was more nightmare than flesh. It stood taller than a house, its skin dark as iron, its claws long enough to tear through stone. Its eyes burned with fire, and its roar shook the walls of the arena. The crowd gasped in awe and fear. This was the beast that had ended the lives of champions, a monster that even alien soldiers avoided. The human stood alone, with no weapon but his hands, no armor but his will. The creature charged, the ground trembling under its weight. The man did not run. He watched. He measured. At the last moment, he leaped aside, the beast's claws slamming into the earth where he had stood. Dust filled the air, the crowd roared. Again and again the beast attacked, each strike powerful enough to crush stone. But the man moved with speed born not of strength but of will and focus. He rolled, he dodged, he struck when he could, always searching, always learning. Minutes felt like hours. The crowd, once certain of his death, now held its breath. The queens watched, their faces tight, their pride trembling. Then the human saw it. A weakness. A scar along the beast's side hidden under its armored skin. With all his strength, he drove his hand into the wound. The beast howled, twisting in pain. The man clung to its back, refusing to let go. The struggle was fierce. Blood fell like fire, the ground shaking with every thrash. But the man did not yield. Inch by inch, he forced the creature down, his body screaming with effort, his spirit unbroken. Finally, with one last roar, the beast collapsed. The arena fell into silence. Dust hung in the air, and in the center of it stood the human, battered, bleeding, but victorious. The silence broke into cries, gasps, and disbelief. The people had seen the impossible. A human had defeated the monster that no alien could conquer. The younger queen rose slowly from her throne, her eyes wide with something new. Respect. He did it, she whispered. The eldest queen's face was pale with anger. No, this cannot be. He should not have lived. But the truth was before them. No excuse could erase what thousands had witnessed. The human raised his head, his voice carrying across the arena. You thought humans weak. You thought us nothing. But we are more than flesh. We are spirit. We are will. We are humanity. The crowd erupted. Some cheered, some shouted, some wept. For the first time in their long history, the Empire saw a human not as a slave, not as a joke, but as a warrior. The younger queen turned to her sisters. We called them inferior. Yet today, he has done what none of us could. How long will we deny the truth? The eldest queen said nothing. Her pride was heavy, her silence louder than words. That night the city glowed not with laughter but with whispers of awe. The human had done the impossible. He had broken the chain of arrogance, and in that moment the galaxy shifted. The night after the final trial, the alien city did not sleep. The streets buzzed with voices, markets filled with whispers, and high towers glowed with restless light. Everywhere people spoke of the human. They spoke of how he had stood alone in the arena, how he had fought the beast that no warrior could face, how he had survived with nothing but his will and courage. For the first time in the history of the Empire, the people did not laugh when they spoke of humans. They spoke with wonder. They spoke with respect. Inside the palace, the atmosphere had changed. The queens sat on their thrones, but their pride no longer felt unshakable. The eldest queen's face was cold, her voice sharp when she addressed her sisters. He has stirred the city. But remember, he's only one man. One man cannot change the stars. Yet her words felt hollow even to her. She had seen the way the crowd looked at him, how their eyes glowed with something dangerous, belief. The younger queen, who once mocked him the most, now sat quietly. She could not forget the image of him standing tall, covered in dust and blood, but unbroken. His eyes had not been filled with hate or arrogance. They had been calm, steady, and strong. That strength had touched something inside her she did not wish to admit. Perhaps, she said slowly, it is not only strength that matters. Perhaps it is the heart behind it. The eldest queen snapped her head toward her, her eyes like fire. Do not let your mind be clouded by weakness. Respect is for equals. Humans are not our equals. But as she spoke, the guards in the hall shifted uneasily. Even they, loyal to the crown, had felt a flicker of respect when they saw the man walk out of the arena alive. The next morning, the human was brought before the court again. The hall was crowded. Nobles, soldiers, and common people pressed close to see him. Their eyes followed him, not with mockery, but with silence. A silence filled with weight. The eldest queen tried to stand tall, her voice carrying across the chamber. Human, you have lived through trials that should have ended you. For that we acknowledge your survival, but do not think this makes you great. You are still only human. The man raised his head, his voice calm but strong. I am only human. But that is enough. You think greatness comes from power alone. But true greatness comes from standing when all others fall, from giving when all others take, from fighting not for yourself but for others. His words struck the hall like a blade of light. The nobles shifted. The people whispered. Even the queens fell silent. The younger queen finally spoke, her voice softer than ever before. You speak as though one man can change an empire. The man's eyes met hers. Not one man, one idea, and ideas are stronger than empires. The words sank deep into the hall. The people who had once mocked him now felt their hearts stir. They had seen his actions. Now they heard his truth. That night, as the city glowed beneath twin moons, the whispers spread further. In taverns and gardens, in barracks and schools, the people spoke of the human not as an insect, not as a fool, but as something more. A symbol, a voice, a light. Respect, once impossible, had begun to take root. Even in the palace, where pride was heavy as stone, cracks began to show. The younger queen could no longer hide her thoughts. In private, she asked her sisters, what if we have been wrong? What if humans are not weak but different? What if their strength is not in their bodies but in their spirit? The eldest queen's answer was sharp, her pride refusing to bend. Then their spirit must be broken before it spreads. But deep inside, she knew the truth was slipping away from her grip. For respect had already begun to grow. And respect is harder to kill than any man. The human, sitting alone in his chamber that night, did not see himself as a hero. He did not think of glory or conquest. He thought only of Earth, of his people, of the faces of those who still believed humans had no place among the stars. He smiled quietly, for now he knew the Empire's laughter was gone. In its place was silence, and in that silence respect had been born. And respect once planted can never be taken back. The alien empire had always laughed at humans. For centuries they saw Earth's people as weak, clumsy, and unworthy of the stars. But the laughter was gone now. In its place stood silence, heavy and uncertain. The silence of a people who had seen something they could never forget. The man from Earth had faced every trial. He had fought beasts, outwitted the maze, and taken pain upon himself for another. He had stood in the arena where countless warriors had fallen and walked out alive. More than that, he had spoken words that struck deeper than any weapon. His courage had left a mark on the hearts of the people, and that mark could not be erased. The younger queen felt it most. She, who once mocked him the loudest, now found herself restless at night. She remembered his eyes, calm, unbroken, filled with a strength she could not name. She remembered his voice, steady as stone. One idea is stronger than empires. Those words echoed in her mind like a song she could not silence. The eldest queen tried to fight against it. She declared him dangerous. She called for his death, for his silence, for the end of this infection of respect. But the people no longer listened so easily. Even the nobles whispered in secret. Even the soldiers hesitated. One evening, the human was summoned again to the great hall. The thrones loomed above him, the queens watching. The eldest spoke first, her voice like ice. You have stirred our people with lies. You have filled them with dangerous hope. Do you not see that hope is poison? The man looked up at her. Hope is not poison. Hope is the fire that keeps us alive when the night is long. Without it, even empires die. The hall grew quiet. Even the guards, trained to be stone, felt the truth in his words. The younger queen rose slowly from her throne. Her voice trembled, but it carried across the hall. He has shown us strength we did not believe humans had. He has earned respect. To deny it is to deny what we all saw with our own eyes. Gasps filled the chamber. No queen had ever spoken such words. The eldest turned on her sister, her anger sharp. You betray us with weakness. But the younger queen stood tall. No, I speak the truth. The empire cannot hide from truth forever. The eldest's fury burned, but she saw the faces around her, the nobles shifting, the soldiers uneasy, the people whispering. Pride could not erase what had been planted. The human spoke once more, his words simple, his voice calm. I did not come here to conquer you. I did not come to destroy. I came only to stand as a man to show you what humanity truly is. We are not perfect. We fight, we struggle, we fall, but we rise again, and that is why we will always belong among the stars. The crowd erupted in voices not of laughter but of agreement. Respect had turned into something stronger. Belief. The eldest queen fell silent, her face like stone. She knew the empire had changed, whether she accepted it or not. One man had done what no fleet or army could do. He had forced the rulers of the stars to see humans differently. That night, as the city glowed under the twin moons, stories spread like fire. In markets, in homes, in starports, people spoke of the man from Earth. They spoke of his trials, his courage, his words. And with every telling, the story grew. Generations later, when children asked about the day humanity first earned respect among the stars, they were told of him, the human who stood before alien queens and did not bow. The man who turned laughter into silence, silence into doubt, and doubt into respect. His name became a symbol, not of power, not of conquest, but of spirit. A spirit that said, no matter how small, no matter how weak the world believes you are, you can rise, you can stand, and you can change the universe. And so the legacy was born. The alien queens had once laughed at humanity, but after meeting him, the galaxy would never laugh again.